I want to share with you a story which entails all of this that I told you. This is a true story that my father went through. It happened to him. My father was in his younger days, about 34, 35 years old. I think it was 1986. I was little, I was about 8 years old. He went to Hajj. And on his journey to Hajj, it was his first Hajj, my father's knowledge of the deen wasn't very strong that time, but he had joined, some Muslim groups and changed his company. Alhamdulillah, he went to Hajj. He said in those days you didn't go with a group, you went by yourself. And then whoever you meet over there, you form your own group, and then you get assigned a place. You got to go somewhere, you get assigned a place. You don't know who you're going to be with. Especially in a place called Mina, where there are tents, and you stay there for about 3 nights and 3 days, for those of you who've been to Hajj. And you end up being assigned a tent. You don't know who is going to be with you. Subhanallah. So my father took this aeroplane, and on his journey he reached, wherever he reached, and from there they took a flight where all the Hajjis went on board. He said, on board, I met some people who were going to Hajj from different parts of the West. And one of them was an American Jordanian young man. And with him was a friend who was from Afghanistan. The Afghan is a practicing person. This Jordanian American was just a typical young, westernized type of upbringing. And he didn't know anything about the Islam more than just, there's something called prayer, and apparently this Hajj place is a good place. And he heard that, if you go there, it's really good for you, and subhanallah. So he didn't know much about the deen, and he didn't know much in Quran, but there was something special about him. Something in his heart was special. He had sincere, honest intentions. And he had belief in Allah, but he just didn't know how. No one really taught him. I want to show you how Allah guides a person. Anyway, my father got to know him by. They arrived in Mecca, and then they were assigned their tents in Mina. On the first night, you just sleep there the first night, and the next day you go and do the big rituals, which is stoning in the place where Ibrahim stoned the devil, and then you got to go back to Mecca and do ifada and tawaf, and you do this thing called sa'i, which is between Safa and Marwa. It's a long day, and then you come back and stay 3 more nights or 2 more nights in Mina with your group. The best nights we ever experienced was in Mina. This is where the world is left behind, everyone's status and profession is left behind, and we all are humbled. We cry on each other's shoulders, we make dua for each other. The brotherhood and the sisterhood is so strong in that particular moment in Mina. So he said, we ended up in Mina, and I was assigned a tent, my father is saying. He says, and subhanallah, the same young man, the American Jordanian on the aeroplane with his friend the Afghan, ended up with us in the same tent. Khair, didn't give it any thought. And a group of other people, Palestinians and others, and from Lebanon, all over the place. So as they were sitting there, this young man, my father describes him as cheerful, funny, energetic. Everybody loved his company. The entire tent was lit with happiness whenever he was around. They loved his jokes, they loved his innocent words. He'd throw words around, sometimes you wouldn't know what he's saying, they'd make fun of him, make joke of him, and then he became something, yani. So one day, in the tents, you're supposed to be in ihram. Where when you start wearing the towels, you're not meant to cut your hair, you're not meant to put on perfume anymore, correct? For men, you just wear 2 pieces of towels, no underwear, nothing, all right? Just natural. For women, they dress properly, of course, but you're not allowed to cut your hair, for example, or nails. And this young man, he got a little bit tired of not brushing his hair. He loves his hair. He's used to a little bit of the luxury and looking good. Bit of a good-looking bloke, my dad said. So he's sitting in the tent, he had enough, and he started brushing his hair vigorously. As he's brushing his hair, my father looked at him and he said, Ya akhi, you're in ihram. If you brush your hair will start coming out. Maybe you'll lose your rewards. Maybe you'll break your ihram. Better not to brush your hair. The man got annoyed of what my father said. He turned around and says, listen, that's between me and Allah, all right? why are you getting involved? It's between Allah. If he likes it, he likes it. If he doesn't like it, that's between me and him. Don't get involved. Stop judging. That's some people, they get frustrated when people give them advice. It's between me and Allah. I'm doing it for him. I'm not doing it for you. Allah, these were his words. Obviously, he was frustrated, but there's something inside. Now, my father stopped talking. He said, okay. He backed off and he said, you're right. I'm not going to invade your privacy. As he was quiet, the man just looked around and others made fun of him. But my father gave him a chance to be quiet. And subhanAllah, the man looked back at my father and he said, do you know why I came here? He said, why did you come here? He said, I came here because I want to ask Allah to give me $2 million. My father said, why do you want $2 million? Because that's how much I need. I want to open up a nightclub. Wallahi. He goes, I want to open up a nightclub where people sing and dance and everything. But you know what I'm going to do? I've got an idea. I'm going to make a little room where, where they go and rest and stuff, or they want to smoke cigarettes or something like that. Well, I don't know what he said. He said a resting room or a place where people can sit, and I'm going to invest in beautiful hadiths and verses of the Quran. I'm going to put them around, and then that way, maybe as they're sitting, they'll read these hadiths and Quran, and maybe they'll be guided. I want to do it for the sake of Allah. But subhanAllah, he didn't know any better. This was the only way. Now, any one of us hearing this would immediately jump on his throat. Isn't that correct? And truly they did. In the tent, they started mocking him and joking. I don't want to say one joke. One brother, he used something of the Quran and it made him laugh. I don't want to share it with you because we shouldn't joke about the Quran. Everyone else laughed. My father didn't laugh. And the man, he got upset. He said, I'm serious. I'm doing something for Allah and all of you are judging me here. Stuff you all. My father took him aside. He said, Habibi, don't worry about them. I don't judge you. You have beautiful intentions. You want to guide people and you've come all the way to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made friends with him and he said, I lowered his guards and we became friends. And then we started walking around. And my father said, I taught him whatever I can teach him about the Quran, about Allah. And I said, Habibi, if you want to ask for money, isn't it better to ask for this or for that or for this or for that? And if Allah gives you the money, isn't it better to use it this way or that way or that way? You're going to have people who are drinking alcohol. They're going to sit in there reading. Probably they don't even know what they're reading. Maybe people will get into drugs. Maybe you'll be calling. And he taught him something that this young man has never been taught. He didn't know. But subhanAllah, he said, I'm going to Hajj. I want to know. He knew Allah. So the brother started learning from my father and he loved him. And he continued with his cheer among them. The Afghan brother who was with him, they used to look at him and say, you're all religious. How did you end up with this guy? And they just laugh about him. Said, they're like two different worlds. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings to people He wants to guide the right people, inshallah. Anyway, they went the next day to do the jamarat, the stoning. And in those days it was very hard. So everybody goes lost. He said, I lost him and I didn't know where he went. And the brother, he went and did his thing. And then we all came back to the tent. Everybody returned. And that young man, the Jordanian American, was missing. Subhanallah, where is he? Where's he gone? Is he upset? Has something happened to him? We told you guys, why'd you have to joke with him? Maybe he's left us. Maybe he's la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Anyway, close to about night, suddenly he returned. He enters into the tent and his face was changed. He's looking so reflective, looking into the ground. He'd been crying. Subhanallah. Iman, reflection. And he comes up to my father and sits with the rest of them. He says, Khair. And he goes, subhanallah, I've changed. I went to do the ifada. Ifada is when you do the tawaf around the Kaaba. And when you're doing ifada, you don't have to do the sa'i, like between Safa and Marwa, for those of you who know. But he said, you know what? I felt energized. And it was close to Maghrib. He says, I went to do the sa'i for the sake of Allah. So I went to the Marwa, I went to Safa, I went back up. He says, as I was coming back down, I got tired. He says, I thought, you know what, halfway is good enough. There's one thing I forgot to tell you before I tell you what happened there. He and my father went to Arafah. You know Arafah? And this young man, so I'll just stop you there and I'll come back to it. He said, I went to Arafah, Mount Arafat. And you know when you have 3 million, 4 million people in the same place, it's very hard to go up that hill. He insisted to go up the hill. My father said, you can make dua from the bottom, all of this is Arafah. He goes, no, I want to go right up to that white pillar up there. He goes, why? He goes, because my dua there is closer to Allah. I want to go all the way up there. So he walked with him. When they reached the pillar, he said to him, how about you know, my father Hajj Abu Ilay, you go and make dua and I'll protect you. So he made dua and he protected him. And after my father finished, he said, okay, now my turn. I'll make dua, you protect me. So my father started protecting him and he goes, and suddenly the guy just sat there for about an hour. Dua, 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 and I got tired. But I'm protecting him, you know. I have to wait. He says, I don't know what he said. Allahu A'lam, what he was saying. 1 hour almost after he finished, he said he got up, and subhanAllah, he said a word which he doesn't mean it. It's usually a very bad word to say, but he meant it this is all the best he knew. He meant it sincerely. And he says to my father, he says, you know, man, you know, poor Allah. I asked him for too much. I don't know how he's going to deal with all my requests. You know, he's too busy giving everyone. I went overboard. I don't know how he's going to give me all his requests. I feel bad for asking Allah all these things. But he said it in a different way, which is not right. My father said I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. I shouldn't have. But I hugged him and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's kingdom is vast. Do you think you even asked enough? He'll give you. Allah's kingdom doesn't run out. He said, nah, I asked for too much. If he gives me a bit, I'm happy. So anyway, we come back now to the sa'i. So now what has he done? Good company, sincere intentions, honesty, dua, and now he's at sa'i. He says, as I got to the sa'i, he says, as I'm about to move, I saw a little ditch somewhere there, something that's not protected, something that's not really built well. So then I find old people and the Hajj is this, they're tripping and they're falling and they're hurting themselves. He said, so I said, subhanAllah, I've got to help these people. He goes, I stood right there, right? And I started helping people. Every time someone came near the hole or the ditch, I'd help them up. I'd help everyone. I helped the old ladies, the old men, anybody who can't see it. And I warned them. He said, I stayed there until I got really tired. But he said, wallahi, I felt a surge of energy that I've never felt before. I don't know where Allah gave me that power. I'd lift people who were like 100 kilos off. Yallah. He said, until the adhan was called. And it was Maghrib. I don't know who was leading that time. Could have been Sudais or Shuraim, sorry. Beautiful voice. He said, I prayed the Maghrib where I was helping the people. As he recited the Fatiha, and I don't know what else he recited. He said, wallahi, I just found myself burst into tears. I'm crying. I don't know where it all came from. And I just started shaking in this amazing iman. I can't describe it. I said, I love you, Allah. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I felt that Allah was using me and guiding me to help these people. Special, subjective guidance. He said, and that's how I came back over here. I'm a changed man. Ya Allah. You know, they stayed together after that and worshipped and they departed. Till today, my father doesn't know what happened. He's probably over 70 years old now. If he's still alive, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep him steadfast. And all those brothers and sisters, the story that I just told you, subhanAllah, is just an example that a lot of people may have gone through. But subhanAllah, in this story, I found these five elements of guidance. That number one, once again, the remembrance of Allah. The Quran was there with him. And the dua was 1 hour. And number two, his conviction in his belief. Yes, although he had it twisted, you know, saying different things, his conviction was that Allah responds to his dua. His conviction that it is only Allah he prays to. His conviction was pure tawheed, monotheism. His pure conviction was that this is the truth and Allah will never guide them to the wrong path. It just needed to be taught. So my father taught him the right way, inshallah. Number three, he started doing his salat. He avoided the sins. He started to help people. He started to do his sunnahs. He started to do his dhikr. Number four, charitable work. He started to help people. And number five, Allah put around him good company. The 5 elements of guidance. Subhanallah.